Most modern F1 fans know Daniel Ricciardo as the Jolly Aussie racing for a mid-table McLaren team. Anyone who's been following the sport for a few years, though, knows what a menace the Honey Badger used to be on track back in the day. In fact, most people back then touted him as a future F1 champion. So where did it all go wrong for Ricciardo to end up in this position today? First up, Daniel Ricciardo rejected an offer to stay at Red Bull in 2018. Perhaps the biggest disappointment of Ricciardo's career is the fact that he never got to fulfill his potential. During his Red Bull days, he was always one of the fastest drivers on the grid, going head-to-head against his teammate Max Verstappen. And while the pair did not really get along very well and consistently found themselves in scrapes during races, they were arguably the last great Red Bull pairing. With that said, we have the power of hindsight now, and seeing where Red Bull ended up after parting ways with the Australian makes us think of an alternative reality with him still there. Maybe he would have been a world champion already. However, while it is unfortunate that he never managed to reach his ceiling, a new revelation has revealed that it wasn't anyone else's fault. In an interview with the Weekend Australian, Red Bull boss Christian Horner has revealed that the team offered him their full support, but he still chose to walk away. According to him, Red Bull offered Daniel Ricciardo a stratospheric multi-million-dollar deal to stay at the racing outfit for 4 years in 2018. This would have also allowed him to build up the gains they'd already made towards closing the gap with Mercedes. However, the Australian surprised everyone when he rejected that offer and signed for Renault, a team that was nowhere near the top. So, given the fact that he could have stayed at Red Bull for a few more years and could have had a championship-winning car, it's pretty clear that the main reason for his downfall was bad decision-making and not bad luck. But obviously, all of this is coming from Christian Horner, who probably isn't very fond of his ex-driver now anyway. So let's take a look at things from Ricciardo's perspective. Up next, Red Bull did not treat Ricciardo and Max as equals. Formula One is a cruel sport, and to remain at the top, you have to be cunning. The political aspect of it all can sometimes be even more challenging than racing, as you have to make the right moves both on and off the track. And team rivalries play a massive role in that, as your biggest opponent in the sport is your own teammate. Let's rewind back to 2018 and put Red Bull under the microscope. The team was making massive strides to compete with Mercedes again and challenge for the title. And during that process, we saw both Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo bring home multiple podiums and race wins, with the Australians' Monaco victory being the sweetest. However, the two Red Bull teammates never really gelled together and collided multiple times on the track during the course of the season. This also raised tensions in the entire team as they were losing precious points in the Constructors' Championship. So it seems like at some point during the season, Christian Horner decided that he'd had enough. Max Verstappen was always been one of the most promising drivers in F1, with an aggressive driving style that we don't see much these days, and since he was also younger than Ricciardo, the team decided to hedge its bets on the rising Dutch star rather than their experienced driver. The relationship between the Australian driver and the team was essentially gone at that point. We saw Red Bull prioritizing car upgrades and giving race strategy preference to Max over Daniel. Not only that, but there were also a few team orders during races in 2018 that prioritized Verstappen. All of this obviously irked the Australian, as he no longer felt like he was being treated fairly in the team. This also meant that even if Red Bull did manage to build a championship-winning car, they'd probably want Max to challenge for the title with Danny Ric playing the role of a wingman. So, for someone who was perhaps in peak physical form of his career, this obviously felt humiliating, which is why Ricciardo chose to jump ship. And honestly, we don't blame him. Next, Ricciardo can't seem to catch a break. Renault was a backmarker team when the Australian joined them. Being an engine manufacturer, they probably had a lot of plans to expand and get back to the top. None of these plans actually came into fruition though, as they continued to fight for mid-table positions. And, well, it wasn't exactly what the Honey Badger had bargained for. On the other hand, McLaren was a team that was showing great promise and had managed to finish third in the championship. And it's not like Ricciardo had a lot of juice left in his career, as he was already over 30 years old. So he switched teams once again and opted to go for McLaren in pursuit of a championship-winning car. Sadly though, things just didn't click for him there either, as he struggled to match his teammate Lando Norris. The only bright spot during his first year at McLaren was perhaps the win at Monza, but even that didn't stop the constant barrage of questions asking whether he'd lost his edge. Is a Danny Ric comeback still in the cards? If you thought that last season was a step back for McLaren, then this year has brought a whole new level of misery. The new regulations have not been kind to the British team, as they're currently sitting at 8th position in the Constructors' Championship. As for Ricciardo, the new season could not have started in a worse fashion. He has failed to score a single point in the first 2 races, and his teammate is the only one carrying the team so far. Coming back from such a position is not easy either, as understanding these new cars has proven to be a challenge, even for a team like Mercedes. So it doesn't seem like there's any hope for a McLaren comeback this year, and as dire as things are for the constructor, the situation for Ricciardo is probably even grimmer. He seems to have lost the championship contender pace that he once had during his Red Bull days. It's been a while since we saw a classic Danny Ric dive bomb overtake, and we're not sure if we're ever going to see it again. Is age a factor in Ricciardo's bad form? Formula One is a young man's sport, and while drivers like Lewis Hamilton have remained in top form deep into their 30s, others like Sebastian Vettel have faded into obscurity. And at the age of 32, it's not like Daniel Ricciardo is getting any younger, so whether it has something to do with fitness or the pace of the car he's driving, one thing is clear. Daniel Ricciardo's career has taken a pretty bad stumble. Getting out of this hole will be tricky, but as they say never. Formula One has had so many champions who have won it all deep into their 30s and even 40s. That discounting someone who's only 32 seems kinda silly. It's not rare for drivers to have a string of bad luck, and we all know that form is temporary but class is permanent, and if we had to hedge our bets on anyone making a big comeback in the sport, it would have to be the Australian. Fortunes can turn around pretty quickly in this sport, and all it takes for someone to get back to the peak of their career is a good car. So if McLaren somehow comes back with a competitive car next year, you can bet that Ricciardo will be up there in the fight for the title. Next, Australian GP offers a chance at redemption for Ricciardo. Let's not get too carried away though. Next season is still quite far away, as we're only 2 races into the current one. There's still a long way to go in this season, and anything could happen between now and Abu Dhabi. With the Australian Grand Prix on the horizon though, this is perhaps the shot at redemption that the McLaren driver needs to kickstart his F1 career again. This is the first time that we'll be heading to Albert Park in 3 years, as pandemic complications interrupted the previous 2 races there, and being Ricciardo's home Grand Prix, there will be an abundance of support for him. Yes, we know that he doesn't have a great track record there, but that could prove to be a strength for the Australian, as he has nothing to lose. The weather forecast for that weekend in Melbourne is also looking promising for McLaren, with a 70% chance of rain on race day. So who knows, maybe we'll see some chaos during the race that pushes Ricciardo's Papaya McLaren further up the grid. I mean, who doesn't want to see a shoey celebration on the podium? That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Daniel Ricciardo has any chance of reviving his F1 title hopes again? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.